Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Tasha, the CEO Speaks. I am so excited to be back with you guys, and today we're going to be talking about why I don't fit in. Growing up, I was the oldest of six. I had to step up. I had to be responsible. I had to take care of my siblings, and while other kids was out playing, I was at home almost being a, a childlike mother. Welcome to my channel, The Business Building Diva, with me, Natasha James, better known as the CEO Speaks. My parents were, my dad was a drug addict, and my mom, she drank. She sat outside on the porch more days throughout the day with her friends, or she would be somewhere in the neighborhood with one of her friends doing Lord knows whatever. But that left me to be at home to be responsible and take care of my siblings, keep the house clean, and do all of those things. So I just had to be the one that I had to be the one that everybody kind of looked up to. While my siblings was outside playing, I was at home always thinking, journaling has been a thing for a very long time. I would write down little notes here and there, just how my life would be better when I became an adult. My mom lights used to get cut off every month almost. We used to go next door and have to get water to flush the toilet, and we used to have to ask to use the telephone, go down the street, and people got tired of us coming to their houses, and it used to be embarrassing for me. I mean, I just, in my mind, I used to always sit and think, how, if there was a God, why does he allow me to have to live through this? And it just became a bit much for me. And as a girl, I guess I didn't fall into the trap of becoming the street person. I would say that my brothers, I'm the oldest of four. I'm the oldest girl of four, and unfortunately, I was the girl. I had to be like the mother of the house. You know what I'm saying? My other two sisters are 10 and 11 years under me. So my brothers, they kind of fell victim to the streets, and they did what they had to do to survive. I mean, and that was the life that we was living. Um, every month we had something not being paid. My dad was on drugs, so he would take the food from the house that my mom would go and grocery shop for, and after she had gotten her food stamps, and it was just a lot. Usually we get evicted from our house, and in the neighborhood that we lived in, we lived on every street. We didn't have a car, so we would walk everywhere. And I used to wonder, why don't I have friends? Journaling taught me to sit down and think about life. I used to sit and think about how I would pay all of my bills without not paying them all at once. Like my mom would pay a partial bill. And I now understand why she would pay a partial bill, because welfare wasn't enough to cover all of the bill. And plus she had six kids, and she didn't have enough. So it was whatever she had to do. She would either sell some of her food stamps, or try to pay to spread the money across whatever bills that needed to be paid, and something would always fall short. Don't let my dad come and take the food stamps or take the food or whatever the case was, where she wouldn't have the money to do any of it, and we would fall victim to the streets. I used to think that my mom just didn't know how to budget her money, and we would always have things that we needed, and we didn't have what, or not have what we needed. And although we lived in a neighborhood where our family was, my mom had six kids, and I can understand how it could be overwhelming with always having to support somebody with that many children. But I food, when you cook a lot of food, it's typically a lot of food. I cook a lot of food right now, and I'm gonna be honest with you, I throw a lot of food away, and I don't ever think that I have anybody has ever come to my house that I have not ever offered food to. And I mean, I don't really care how many kids you have. I don't really care how many people come to my house because I cook so much. I have 4 kids, it's 6 of us, but we don't ever eat all of their food. And I don't really know, but I we used to have to wait to eat. And when we go to people's house, especially our family members, they would tell us stuff like such and such hasn't eaten yet, and we don't know if we're gonna have any leftovers. Um, and or if the water was turned off, they didn't know that we would be able to take a bath at the house because of certain situations or whatever the case may be. We would have to go home if my mom didn't have food stamps to put on any holiday dinners. We wouldn't be able to participate. So when I think about all of those things when I was a child, I think about how I grew up. So I would think that, I would sit at home in my journaling, I would write down grocery lists. I would think about how much my light bill would be. I would think about what my water bill would be. I would think about what my living expenses would be as it pertains to my live how much it would be for me to live. And I would think about, how much if I was to work a job making X amount of dollars, how much I would actually make and how much I would have to spend towards living. And I know that sounds crazy, but that's the truth. I literally budgeted out my life. I knew that at some point in my life that I would not have to live like that anymore. And so being responsible is what made me, those things is what shaped me into the person that I am today. um I didn't want to survive anymore. I wanted to live, and I wanted to not have to live within a certain standard. I didn't I did those things were that was the most embarrassing thing to do. And to not to have to go to school with dirty clothes, or to have not be able to take a bath, to get up and go to school. You never knew if people smelled you or if you didn't. you know I don't know, it was just a lot. Those things kept me from being with other people. It kept me from, because you never know who's talking about you. Everybody in the neighborhood knew that we didn't have lights, or they knew we didn't have water, because we would be going next door to such and such's house to get water to flush the toilet, or we would stay away from home all day because the lights was off, or and we would only come home when it got dark so we can go to bed. They knew when we didn't have phones, because we had to go knock on somebody's door to use the phone, which, so that kind of made me feel like I didn't really want to be in groups with people, because I didn't know who knew what about me. um and as I grew older, I learned to survive. I learned to stay to myself and deal with the things that I needed to deal with on my own, without having to share a lot about my life with others. Being in survival mode made me learn how to be strong. It taught me how to deal with my problems, which made me feel like I had to isolate myself when I was dealing with something that I didn't want to share with anybody else. um, I probably still, I'm not going to say probably, I kind of still do that right now today. Outside of talking to my counselor, I really don't share a lot of what's going on with me outside of my husband. And it's got to be really, really bad for me to share it with him. As a child, you walk around and you think everybody has it together. They have this, they have that, they live in this kind of house, they live in that kind of house, or their parents do this kind of work, and they just have, and you don't think that there's anything going on in those families because they don't talk about it. And that was pretty much the same thing that was going on with me. Like, I tried to keep myself clean. I tried to make sure that I looked the best that I could without having to look, like I was dealing with anything. I kept to myself because I didn't want anybody to ask me anything. My teachers would ask, I would eat lunch at school. You learn to eat whenever. Right now, I eat once a day. And I'm going to say that I have learned to eat once a day from my childhood. Like, I would eat breakfast if they had it at school, something that I liked, but I would definitely eat lunch, and that would be enough for me to carry throughout the day. And that meant I didn't have to come home and worry about whether or not if I was going to eat or not eat. Um, I just learned to survive. I learned how to do the things that I needed to do without having to depend on other people. If I couldn't do it myself, I didn't want to have it done. As I got older, I took on a job at 16, and it was at Kmart. I would leave Kmart and go to work. After work, I would go home and I would do my homework at school. I would get up early that morning and make sure I caught the bus, and I would sit in front of the classroom if I had a test, and I wouldn't eat breakfast, and I would study before the test. So I learned how to cram very early. I never went to my locker. I kept all of my books in my book bag or whatever. So I kind of was like a nerd walking around school. And I didn't really do a whole lot. I didn't have friends, and I didn't have friends because I learned early in life that people here today and they gone tomorrow. I moved a lot, so I never was able to build relationships. And I think, as children, we, from what I've seen, people have had long relationships with friendships that that are childhood friendships. I don't have childhood friendships, and I typically, as an adult, I people come and they leave. My personality is very strong, and I'm more of a leader than I am a follower, and I don't need people to tell me what to do or when to do it and how to do it. But I'm a pretty bossy person. Go figure. But when you ask me my opinion about something, I'm typically going to give you the answer that you probably do not want. And I think that kind of turns people off with me. I typically am one that my help comes off as me trying to tell you what to do. And it doesn't it's not that I'm trying to tell you what to do. It's just that it just makes sense to me that that you would do whatever it is that I told you to do. Um at 47, I'm learning that what, people don't care. People don't want to know what you want, what they want to know. They don't want to hear your opinion. They want to be validated in what they're saying. And typically they just want somebody to listen. I'm learning to listen more than I do talk. If you're paying me, I have no problem sitting there listening to you. Now it's crazy, isn't it? I'm a counselor by trade. I learned to counsel in school, but I did not learn to listen to my friends in life. um I feel like I'm not working when I'm sitting having a random cordial conversation. So at the end of the day, you're not paying me to talk about whatever it is that we're talking about. So you're asking me my opinion about something, and I'm learning that you really don't want my opinion. You really just want somebody to sit and validate what you're saying and to go with the flow. But in my younger days, I would give my opinion, and I would always say something that's gonna piss somebody off. And so for me, it's like, what, it's not. I don't. It's not that I don't want to be your friend. It's just that I don't know how to tiptoe around people's feelings. I don't know how to make you feel good when you are sitting there thinking about things that you know you're asking and you're asking for a truthful answer, but you only want to hear what you want to hear, or you want me to be the person that's going to dance around on eggshells to make you feel good when I so for me I typically just kind of stay to myself because I don't know how to be that person for you. So I have, again, five other siblings. It's six of us, and we're not close. We're not close because we have all been in survival mode for the most part, living the way we want to live. I have a brother that left the state of Louisiana and went to another state. And I think he was running because he didn't want to have to be close enough to deal with anybody. He's far away that when he comes home, he expects everybody to drop what they're doing and be there for him, or, you know what I'm saying? And I like it, but at the end of the day, he has his own personality, whereas he only wanted to deal with his kids, don't interact with my kids. They only come around, and I'm gonna say they only come around because they go around their maternal family because the maternal family was there to babysit and do all of the things that his their paternal family wouldn't. I don't babysit. I have four kids of my own. And nobody drops, I don't drop them off on anybody, have never dropped them off on anybody, and never intended on dropping them off on anybody. They don't go and spend summers with other people. They don't go and spend nights with other people. So I've never been the aunt that was willing to take in other people's children. And I have my reasons for that I'll probably eventually tell one day. I just think that at life, when you have kids, you have to realize that certain things are not meant to be, and raising your children should be your number one priority. And that was my mindset. Things happen to me that I wouldn't want anything to happen to my children. And so when I think about that, I just constantly, is I don't want anything to happen to my kids, and I didn't want my husband to be blamed for something either. So I did not offer to keep other people's children, and I didn't ask other people to keep mine. So when I think about that, all of my brothers, I have two of them, three of them that's here in Louisiana with me, and we are not close. We're not, and it's not because we don't get along. It's because we just live separate. We live different lives, and we're doing the things that we want to do the way we want to do it. And at the end of the day, we've learned to take care of ourselves. Um, it's crazy, but it almost seems like we are six only children. And honestly, that's the way we live. Life began, when I think about all of the family and the things that I have to deal with, I realized that, I wanted more out of life. And other people didn't understand that. I had a drive that I was determined to not become what people said I'd become. I was determined to live. I was determined to make sure that my children had a better life than what I had. So, whatever that meant I needed to do, that's what I did. And that meant me going back to school, me looking at life different from the way they saw life, and me being dead set on accomplishing goals. Listen, I don't know if me accomplishing goals separated us or me becoming this person that I am, but I don't fit in any groups. I don't fit in my sibling group. I don't fit in my cousin group. I don't fit in my auntie and uncle group. I don't, and I'm not gonna say it's them. I am gonna say it's me. I understand. I understand. I'm 47 years old, and I haven't had interactions with a lot of the people in on my side of the family in probably 20 years. And it wasn't because I didn't want to. It was because of childhood traumas that I ran from. It was because that I didn't want to deal with a lot of the things that I dealt with growing up as a child. You go around and people tend to judge you. um I was put back in the first grade way back when I was a little girl, and my aunt on my mom's sister did it. And when my grandmother died, probably 13 years ago, 12 years ago, I'm gonna say, my auntie brought that up. She told me I was mad because she put me back in first grade. Girl, what? In that moment, I realized that, and she said that because I hugged my grandmother's sister first when I walked in the house, and I hugged her last. I could not for the life of me understand that and how she came to, but it seemed as though she had been holding this in for I don't know how long, and she really needed to get it off of her chest. But in that moment, it ticked me off so much because I didn't go there for that. I went there to pay my respects, spend a little time with family, and leave. And that in that day, I literally told them, I'm glad mama dead, because at this point, I ain't got to never come back around here another day in my life. And I haven't been back since. I don't feel the need to go back. I don't really think that I have a reason to go back. And I just think about life and thinking, you know, she sees me as this person that accomplished so much. And I'm sitting there thinking, how in the world you think I'm mad about you putting me back in first grade? Look at me. Look at me, okay? Like, do you not see what I've done? You putting me back in first grade was probably the best thing you could have done for me. But okay. um so it's things like that that stops me from going around my immediate family. Sometimes not fitting in is the very thing that shapes you into becoming that person that doesn't follow the crowd. Is someone who sets their own path. That I've always been determined to build a life that breaks the cycle of the struggle that I grew up in. But I won't lie, it gets very lonely, very lonely. Like, I long for relationships with my cousins. I want to be able to go and hang out and sit and drink and eat with them. I want to be able to have those those days where we can just come over to each other's home and sit and just talk about things. But my childhood is not one that I am too thrilled, that I get too excited about talking about, because I don't have very good memories. Those are things that I choose to keep in the back of my mind. Um, I would find myself in rooms full of people, but still feeling like I was in there alone. And, it gets to a point where you just ignore it. Life just takes you to a place where you just floating. Like, I have so much, but I have nothing. Okay, but here's the thing. What I've learned is not fitting in is not a curse. It's a sign that you were meant for something better. Um, Different. You think about it, you stop looking for the differences and the flaws and start seeing them as strengths. The truth is, people who break cycles and the five eyes rarely fit in. The mold, they rarely fit in the molds of society. And that's okay. At the big age of 47, I embrace being the outsider. I own it. It's why I can stand strong when others might fold. It's the why I keep going, why I keep pushing, and why I keep creating legacies that's bigger than me. Not fitting in gave me a drive to succeed because I wasn't willing to settle. I wasn't willing to settle for less or just be accepted. I'm never going to be tolerated. If you can't celebrate me, I am damn sure not going to let you tolerate me. If you've ever felt like you didn't fit in, like your goals, your dreams, or your mindset made you different, know that it's okay. It is okay, sis. You don't have to shrink. You don't have to shrink yourself to make others comfortable. You don't have to be you just be the one that stands out. I'm a Sigma Gamma Rho, as you can see. And I don't know if you've ever seen that little box that come up. It's a box of blue eggs or white eggs or whatever eggs the color the eggs are. But there's one gold egg in the middle of the box. And that's the way when I walk into a room, that's me, girl. That is me. Sigma Gamma Rho is a very small sorority, and we typically have the same type personalities. And because we are such a small sorority, we fit wherever we go, we stand out. And that is my whole life. Like wherever I go, my personality shines in the room. People are drawn to me just because of who I am. I don't really care that I'm by myself because I know that whatever aura I give off, it is the aura that you need, and I embrace it. So be the one that stands out. Use that feeling as fuel because sometimes being the outsider means you're just ahead of the game. So if you've stuck around this long and this resonated with you, please like, share, and subscribe and listen. Know that at the end of the day, it's okay to stand out. Until the next video, be great and stand out.